Hey mathematicians, so the instructions for this particular type of problem are going to look a little bit different from what you've seen previously because instead of asking for the rate of change, it's asking for the average rate of change. And the reason it's doing that is because real life data can be really messy sometimes. And in this particular example, there is not a constant rate of change. So you'll see, for example, that 10 over 2, or negative 10 over 2, I should say, is going to end up being a rate of change of negative 5. But then this negative 2 over 2 is going to simplify to negative 1. So this is not a constant rate of change because obviously the rate of change in between each data point is not the same. So when that happens, sometimes we do something called a constant rate of change, and that is where, or I'm sorry, not a constant, an average rate of change, and that's where it just asks you to find the rate of change for a specific part of the table. So I'm going to turn your attention to right here. And so what that part of the directions is telling you to do is to use the part of the table where x, because here's our x, right? X is equal to 5 and x is equal to 7. So it's asking you to find the rate of change between those two parts of the table. So we're still going to use the formula we've become familiar with over the last couple of days, the change in y over the change in x. And notice right here, by the way, while I'm talking about that, this doesn't say y, but we know from previous lessons that f of x is really just another way of saying y. So it really means the same thing, it's just in function notation. So my change in my y values, I'm going to look right here. And from 9 to 15, the difference is 6, and it's increasing, so it's a positive 6. And then on the left-hand side, where our x values are, this is increasing by 2. So if we do our change in our y, which is 6, and divide that by our change in x, our final rate of change is 3. Because 6 divided by 2 is 3. So sometimes if it's not a constant rate of change, we kind of have to settle for just finding the rate of change in a part of it. And so that is what this question is asking you to do. I'm going to work through one more just, to make sure that you've got two good examples. Well, what I hope are good examples anyway. So this rate of change actually happens to be constant, but we're still going to do what it asks us to do, which is find the average rate of change. And it's only asking us to look at the place where, sorry, you know how doing the wrong color really bugs me. So it tells us to use where x is in between 2 and 6. So this time it means we need to use this row and this row. So it feels weird that we're skipping this row, but that is definitely what we're supposed to do. So we are going to do the rate of change in between those two rows. And you kind of honestly just forget that that row is even there. This time, instead of writing out change in y, I'm writing delta y because we know it means the same thing. So the delta y, the change in y in this case, will be between 54 and 42, which means it's a decrease of 12 because it is going down by 12. And then my change in my y values between 2 and 6 is an increase of 4, which means it's going to be a positive 4. So it's going to be 12, actually not just 12, but negative 12 divided by 4, which means that our final rate of change for this one will be a negative 3. Please let me know if you need a little bit more help than this. And of course, I'll be glad to help you.